Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would talk about a topic that gets brought up quite a lot when people are asking me questions about the game, and the major one is how to grind quickly to top tier, or what is the most efficient way to grind. Now, if you want the TLDW or TLDR on how to grind quickly on top tier, you just buy a high tier premium, you also at the same time buy premium time, and then you just do that. But the point of this video is not just to tell you this, it's to tell you that it is the complete wrong way of playing War Thunder, and you'll actually burn out incredibly quickly while trying to do something like that. War Thunder is a game which should not be seen as something that has a destination. Just like a lot of free-to-play games, War Thunder is one that will be constantly there, that you can dip in and dip out of, and instead of just having a specific end goal. That's the whole point of games like this. If you want end goals, stuff like single-player games exist, or even stuff such as like strategy games, like a lot of RTSs, for example, like Broken Arrow, for example. Broken Arrow has the multiplayer portion, and that means that it's an ongoing community push. But if you're interested in the single-player stuff, you have all of the skirmishes, you have all of the campaigns, and you can kind of pick where your destination is. For War Thunder, you can have a destination, but once you reach it, there's always going to be more destinations and more things that you will want. One of the things that I find kind of interesting is when people will ask me, I've just started the game, I want to play the best vehicles, where do I find them? And I ask them, like, are they talking about top tier? They talk about mid tier, low tier? You know, what are you interested in? And most of the time they just say top tier, and I tell them what the best vehicles are. And then also, there's always a caveat. If you are starting the game today, which, you know, first of all, welcome to the game. It's been one I've enjoyed for over a decade. But the simple thing is, by the time you get to top tier, the actual meta vehicles themselves will have changed. Because over the next, 5 months, we're going to have 3 major updates. And they're going to have a ridiculous amount of content in them, so the advice that I give you today is not going to work in a month or two's time. And that is the crazy thing about War Thunder, which is why for me, I've never been a huge fan of focusing on the end goal of getting to top tier. By focusing on just playing the game and, you know, kind of grinding out different vehicles, spading different vehicles, and playing different tech trees, for me personally, it means I've ground to top tier in every single nation. And I've had a fantastic time doing it as well, while playing across the board. That enjoyment has slightly taken a hit over the last few years, just because of all the copy-paste stuff, because it hasn't been incredibly fun, but it has meant that I've had a fantastic time overall doing it, and I wouldn't change anything for it. And I honestly think that is the best approach for the game. Instead of trying to focus on grinding to a specific vehicle at the highest echelon of the game, the best way to play War Thunder is to play all of it, and to try and get yourself access to as much stuff as you can. Now, the next part of it, which comes along from this thought, and this is something that a lot of people have also said, I'm limited on time. I don't want to, have to wait ages to be able to get to the higher echelon vehicles by playing a bunch of different nations. And that, I suppose, is completely fair. So if you personally think that for you, because you're limited on time, you want to kind of just grind out one nation and go for it, sure, like go ahead, but just understand you won't have as much fun doing that as you would basically playing through a lot of other areas of the game and just kind of having a bit of fun. Even if you are more limited on time, War Thunder is a game that should not be seen as a month process or 6-month process or a yearly process. This is a decade process game. And I don't mean from like playing it point of view, but I mean from content point of view. War Thunder is a game that has a ton of content to come in the future and has obviously released a ton of content in the past. So if you're a person who's worried about getting the next new thing, but you're limited on time, the expectations need to change because the game just isn't set up like that. For example, they added all the new SAM systems, right? I've been watching a bunch of different videos on them that people have made, mainly from people who've just requested them from Gaijin. And when you request stuff from Gaijin, by the way, and you're part of the content credit program, you get access to them either in a rental state or a permanent state, and then it also spades them automatically for you. And you also get free GE so you can ace your crew. So it gives you a slightly different perspective on what you will actually experience for these vehicles, which is why I personally don't like doing that. I like to grind them out naturally. But also, by doing that, it does take quite a lot of time. And you have to commit yourself a lot to it, and then you also have to spade them afterwards. But the feeling that you get after doing all of this is so much better than just getting stuff for free and basically getting views and getting some money from it. It's much nicer to just play the game in as much natural way as possible. I see so many people get burnt out when it comes to War Thunder, mainly down to the money that they actually spend in the game, or generally because they feel like they have to get that new thing, and if they're not getting that new thing quick enough, then they're not going to be able to, use it and exploit it, and then when the next new thing comes around, they're going to have to get that new thing, and then just keep going like that. Where for me, I've just been playing a bunch of different stuff all the time. And that means that certain vehicles are super frustrating because you miss their meta when they're not as good anymore. But then it just gives you a new perspective on where they are at that time. This is a living game. This is something that really has to be taken like that. And I don't think it ever really will. I don't think it's something that everybody will embrace in that way. And I do personally think they should massively reduce the grind, especially in certain areas, and also add in more incentives to try and get people playing more stuff. But from an individual perspective, I feel like it's very important when it comes to your goals for War Thunder to not aim too big. Instead, do what the tried and tested method is. Pick small goals, spading a vehicle, researching a single vehicle, maybe even completing a challenge, completing a decal, for example, in one of the decal challenges. Just do that for a little bit. You'll get a little bit of, happiness, a little bit of dopamine, then you do the next thing. And then before you know it, you just have thousands of vehicles. That's pretty much what I did. And it's wild to think about. Right now, when it comes to War Thunder, I have researched 2,440 vehicles. I've spaded, so fully modified, 2,215 of them. So I have over 2,000 vehicles modified. Now, a lot of those are ground or air vehicles. There's a few, well, there's a lot of naval vehicles and hardly any helicopters, because I don't really find them that fun. But I've been able to play that much just because of the fact that I've never really got bored. Because there's always new challenges, there's always new things to focus on, and the focus is never just to play the top tier thing. I have a bunch of top tier stuff spaded across the board for pretty much every nation. But at the same time, the goal was never to get to them. It was just part of the overall journey. So instead of seeing War Thunder as kind of like a train that keeps going and eventually there's an end station, just see it as kind of like a long walk where you just wander over mountains, wander over the Pennines, for example, and then just keep going and never stop. War Thunder is a living game, and your thoughts towards it should be living too. If you get stuck in kind of permanent ideas and you don't become malleable, you're going to have a horrible time. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.